Hello everyone, and welcome to my CBS YNR Full Today channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Jack Abbott is currently bleeding out on the floor of the Abbott mansion, and honestly, the woman he once called his wife is standing over him, whispering about a forever that looks a lot like a funeral. This isn't just another Friday cliffhanger that we'll forget by Monday, it is a reckoning that's been 40 years in the making. Was this really just a mental health crisis for Patty Williams, or was it the inevitable explosion of a betrayal that started back in the 80s? Well, think about it. The sight of Jack fighting for his life is a total gut punch to anyone who's followed the Abbott family legacy. He's the patriarch now. He's the man who went from being Smilin' Jack, the town playboy, to the moral rudder of the entire family after John Abbott passed away. But as he lies there, it's crystal clear that his past has finally caught up with his present. If you analyze Jack, his biggest flaw has always been his ego. He thinks he can manage the little people in his life like they're just variables in a business equation. He treated Patty like a transaction back in 1982, and now, he's paying the interest on that debt in blood. Let's be real for a second. Jack's decision to play the hero in the bedroom with a woman who is clearly unhinged was a massive ego trip. In my opinion, he actually thought his charm could de-escalate a woman who has spent years in and out of Fairview. He totally underestimated how deep her obsession goes. That is a psychological blind spot the size of Jabot Cosmetics. Patty didn't just want a night with him, she wanted to own his soul because, in her fractured mind, he's the only thing that makes her feel real. Why did she strike right now? Well, it was the ultimate rejection. Jack didn't just say no to her, he told her that her whole scheme was over and that Diane was the only woman he wanted. For someone like Patty, who defines her whole identity through Jack's eyes, that wasn't just a breakup. It was an execution of her soul. Internally, Patty is like a child trapped in a cycle of 1980s trauma. She still feels the sting of that affair between Jack and Diane that cost her her first pregnancy. To her, Diane isn't just a rival, she's the thief who stole her entire future. When Jack chose Diane again, it triggered every single abandonment wound Patty has ever suffered. The funny thing is, the stabbing wasn't an act of hate in her mind. In Patty's warped logic, it was the ultimate romantic gesture to make sure they'd never be apart again. This is classic borderline obsession mixed with delusional grandiosity. Patty creates these fake identities like Mary Jane Benson or Myrna Murdoch because she can't stand being the woman Jack didn't want. By killing Jack, she stops him from ever rejecting her again. It's a terrifying way to take control. Honestly, I think the writers are finally showing us the true cost of Jack's playboy years. He sowed these seeds of madness decades ago, and now the harvest is here. While Jack is bleeding out, Diane Jenkins is making this high-stakes getaway with Kyle. The irony here is almost too much. Diane spent weeks being gaslit by Dr. Lawrence Markham, only to be freed into a nightmare that might actually be worse than her captivity. How is she going to react when she finds Jack? It's going to be the most pivotal moment of the season. She just reclaimed her life, but if Jack dies, her entire foundation is gone. Diane probably feels a crushing sense of guilt right now. Even though she was the one who got kidnapped, she knows her presence in Jack's life is what triggered Patty's latest spiral. She is a woman who has fought for redemption for years, and just as she gets it, the man she loves is taken down by the ghost of their shared past. Diane's ego is under siege here. She wants to be the good wife, but she keeps finding herself being the catalyst for tragedy. I totally disagree with people who say Diane is to blame for the stabbing, but her history of faking her own death makes this so much more complex. If Jack dies, does Diane even have the strength to stay in Genoa City? Or will she run back into the shadows? Leaks have already started popping up about what happens once Jack is rushed to Genoa City Memorial. We've seen photos of a mysterious hooded figure in the hallways. Is this Patty coming to finish what she started, or is it someone else? The hospital is never a safe haven in a soap opera. It's just a stage for the final act of a thriller. That hooded figure represents the threat that Patty poses even when she's not in the room. If it is Patty, it shows she is way more calculated than people think. She knows Jack survived her bullets in the 80s, so she's not taking any chances with this knife wound. But I suspect the figure might actually be Diane in a moment of desperate protection. Imagine Diane, pushed to her limit, putting on a disguise to stop Patty before she can get to Jack's room. That would be such a poetic reversal of their 40-year rivalry. Diane is likely running on pure adrenaline right now. She's not thinking about the law, she's thinking about survival. Now, let's talk about the most shocking part of this whole thing, the transformation of Tracy Abbott. Usually, she's the sweet one, right? But now she's openly talking about wanting to strangle Patty. This isn't just about Jack. This is 17 years of repressed rage over the death of her daughter, Colleen. Patty was the one responsible for that, and Tracy has never truly let it go. Tracy is grieving all over again. Seeing Patty in her home, living the good life while Jack is in surgery, has shattered Tracy's Miss Nice persona. Tracy is the moral center of the show, so for her to reach a breaking point means the situation is completely irredeemable. If Tracy is the one to finally take Patty down, it would be the most satisfying character arc.
It's too early to make any kind of predictions, but Virginia Nottingham is the best.
Jack stabbing
and I'm going
is
to guess
trigger
that your
for the
wife is a
primary trauma
fighter.
of Colleen's death. I am 100% here for Dark Tracy. It's about time someone in that family stopped treating Patty like a patient and started treating her like a threat. We can't ignore the fact that Victor Newman's invisible hand is all over this. He's likely the anonymous benefactor who paid for Patty's surgery and her return to town. Victor's fingerprints are all over this tragedy. He has used Patty as a weapon against Jack multiple times. Victor views Jack as his eternal rival, and he knows Patty is Jack's Achilles heel. By unleashing her, Victor gets to control the chaos. In my opinion, Victor's actions here are almost sociopathic. He knows how dangerous Patty is, she shot him too. Yet, his need to dismantle Jack is bigger than his concern for human life. If Victor realizes his weapon actually killed Jack, will he feel bad? Probably not. He'll just say Jack failed to handle his women. Victor is the grand architect of this misery, and Jack is just a victim in a proxy war that turned deadly. The tension is only going to get worse as Jack goes into surgery. That afterlife comment from Patty is a huge clue that she's thinking about a murder-suicide pact. If she can't have Jack in this world, she's psychologically committed to taking him to the next one. This makes her more dangerous than ever because she has nothing left to lose. I predict we are going to see a final confrontation in the hospital chapel or right in Jack's room. Patty will probably try to save Jack from the doctors, thinking his death is the only way he can be at peace with her. Kyle and Diane will be the only ones standing in her way, and that physical showdown could leave another family member injured. The show really needs a permanent fix for Patty. Sending her back to Fairview is just a revolving door. Either Patty dies, or Jack is forever changed, maybe even paralyzed again like he was in the 80s. When you look at the timeline from 1980 to now, Jack's life has been a series of reckless, selfish choices that he's spent the last 10 years trying to fix. This stabbing is basically his past coming back to life. The Smilin' Jack persona was a shield, but it hurt a lot of people. Patty was the most vulnerable one. There's a really deep sadness in the fact that Jack was finally happy with Diane. They had found a way to move past their toxic history and build something real. Now, Patty has effectively hit the reset button on 40 years of growth. Is this a sign that people in Genoa City can never truly change? Can Jack ever outrun his playboy past? Can Diane ever be more than a gold
Doctor,
digger in
thank you
people's eyes?
for agreeing to come here in the last
The
minute
answer the show is given
and
us is
performing
no.
this
The past is
extraordinary
like a
surgery.
rope that eventually pulls everyone back into the mud. The fallout for the rest of the town is going to be massive. If Jack survives, the legal battle for Patty's soul starts all over again. But this time, I don't think Jack will refuse to press charges like he did back in 1982. The Abbott family is a fortress now. With Billy, Ashley, and Tracy all involved, they are going to build a wall around Jack that Patty can't get through. I also expect Audra Charles to use this chaos to her advantage. While the Abbotts are distracted by the hospital vigil, Audra will probably make a move for power at Jabot or Newman. The business war never stops, even when someone gets stabbed. And what about Kyle? He's in such a tough spot. He loves his mother, but he's seen the damage she causes. This might drive a permanent wedge between Kyle and Diane, especially if Jack is left with permanent injuries. Let's go back to that hooded figure theory. What if it's not Patty or Diane? What if it's Tracy? Imagine the nice sister taking the law into her own hands to finish Patty once and for all. It would be the twist of the decade. Tracy would be acting out of displaced aggression. She couldn't save Colleen, but she can save Jack by getting rid of the threat forever. This would be a huge risk for the show, but it's the kind of high-stakes drama that keeps people watching. We want to see Tracy finally get her justice. If Patty is the hooded figure, she's probably dressed in scrubs to blend in. That blonde and blue scrubs mentioned in the leaks could easily be Stacey Hayduke in disguise. It gives off a total horror movie vibe. This rivalry between Patty and Diane has been simmering for 4 decades, and this attack is the absolute boiling point. Jack is just the prize they are fighting over, but the real war is between these two women. Patty is fighting for a soulmate who doesn't even exist outside of her head.
Mom started having these
Diane is fighting
terrible
for a
headaches a
husband
few
she
weeks
finally
ago.
found. It's a battle between a delusion and reality. Jack is the sun that all these women orbit, and this stabbing is like an eclipse that leaves everyone in the dark. I honestly think the show is setting things up so that only one of these women can stay in town. Jack can't survive with both of them around. There's just too much blood and too much history. The Abbott mansion used to be a sanctuary, but Patty has turned it into a crime scene twice now. This completely destroys the psychological safety of the whole family. For Kyle, seeing his dad bleeding on that floor isn't just a shock, it's the destruction of his home life. He's spent his whole life trying to find a stable family, and just as he gets it, it's ripped away. Kyle is probably feeling like a failure as a son. He feels like he should have protected Jack. He's going through survivor's guilt right now. He survived the drama at the Markham house, but he couldn't save his dad at home. I suspect Kyle will turn his anger toward Diane because it's easier to blame her for bringing Patty back than it is to accept that his dad was being reckless. This is going to destroy their relationship. Patty didn't just stab Jack, she stabbed the heart of the whole family. Patty's mention of the afterlife is a huge psychological red flag. She sees herself as a martyr for love. In her mind, she's saving Jack from the complications of life, the Dianes, the Victors, and the business wars. By taking him to the afterlife, she creates a world where she is the only one who matters to him. This is extreme obsession. She truly believes Jack loves her back, and any evidence that he doesn't is just interference she has to get rid of. This is why you can't talk sense into Patty. When Jack tried to explain the game was over, she didn't hear him rejecting her, she heard a call to take her love to the next level. Jack's big mistake was treating her like a rational person. You can't de-escalate someone who is living in a different reality. He should have been the man who takes no prisoners instead of the husband trying to play nice with a killer. We have to remember the root of all this, 1982. Jack married Patty for a presidency. That was the original sin. He used a woman's heart to climb a corporate ladder. Patty was young and desperately in love, but to him, she was just a transaction. She never recovered from that miscarriage and the realization that her marriage was a total lie. Her spiral into madness started right there. Every violent thing she's done since then is just a broken attempt to get back the innocence she lost in 1982. Jack owes Patty a debt, but he shouldn't have to pay it in blood. The real tragedy is that Jack has changed, he's a better man now. But Patty is stuck in time. She doesn't see the patriarch, she sees the playboy who broke her heart 40 years ago. He's being punished for a man he isn't anymore by a woman who can't be anyone else. When the paramedics show up at the mansion, the whole scene is going to be pure chaos. This private tragedy is about to become a huge public scandal. The Abbott name is going to be dragged through the mud again. Jabot's stock might even drop, and I bet Billy Abbott will use this crisis to try and take back power. Jack will probably survive, but he'll have one of those near-death experiences where he sees the ghost of John Abbott again. That usually gives him a new moral compass, and he might even try to forgive Patty one more time. Can you imagine? That would make the rest of the family go ballistic. If Jack forgives her, Tracy and Billy might turn their backs on him, starting a whole new Abbott versus Abbott war. Jack's obsession with keeping his dead dad around is his psychological rudder, but it might lead him down a path that gets him killed. The family doesn't need a saint right now, they need a leader. Jack Abbott's whole journey is like a legend. He went to war a boy and came back a playboy. He fought Victor Newman and became a patriarch. This Patty war is his final test. It's not just about a knife wound, it's about his ultimate weakness. His family is everything to him, and Patty found a way to strike right at the heart of it. Jack is unlucky in love because he keeps trying to fix broken people instead of looking out for himself. The hospital attack is the climax of his entire story. If he survives this, he really is the anti-hero we can't help but cheer for. The fans want to see him win, but we want him to show some teeth. No more Mr. Nice Guy, just like he said when he came back in 1989. And what about Nikki Newman? She's dealing with her own nightmare right now, coming home from the hospital with her eyes bandaged. But Nikki and Jack have this deep history of supporting each other through the worst times. I wouldn't be surprised if Nikki feels a pull toward Jack during this crisis, which is going to make Victor absolutely furious. That Jack-Victor-Nikki triangle is what defines this show, and this stabbing is going to pull those strings all over again. Victor is the grand architect of all this misery, and Jack is just a victim in a war that has turned incredibly violent. I really think we're heading toward a scenario where the Abbott family has to decide once and for all how to handle Patty. They've tried being kind, and they've tried the mental health route, but it never works. Tracy's anger is the most honest thing we've seen on the show in a long time. She's finally letting herself feel the rage she's been holding back since Colleen died. If she's the one to end this, it would be a huge thematic statement. It says that even the kindest person has a limit. Tracy would be sacrificing her own peace of mind to save her family. It's the ultimate sacrifice. But it would leave her destroyed in a whole different way than Diane. So, let's really think about this. Do you think Jack is partly to blame for Patty's mental state because of how he treated her back in the day, or is he a total victim here? And if you were Tracy, would you take justice into your own hands after 17 years of waiting, or should Patty just go back to an institution? The drama in Genoa City is hitting a fever pitch, and the fallout from this stabbing is going to change the Abbott family forever. Make sure you're tuned in because next week is going to be absolutely wild. We're going to see the ambulance drama, the hospital vigil, and maybe even find out who that hooded figure really is. You definitely don't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Abbott family tragedy, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you Team Diane, or are you starting to see where Tracy is coming from? And do you think Jack will ever be the same after this? I'll be back with a full update as soon as we get more news from the hospital. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you're always in the loop with everything happening in Genoa City. Stay restless, everyone.